ag tech return on investment calculator that's been developed. Jess brings her background in animal nutrition and experience in the stock feed industry to the hub, actual agricultural innovations and adoption projects, such as the newly released ag tech return on investment calculator. And she's going to walk us through it.
Thank you. Okay. That should be right. Thanks for coming today, everyone, and thank you to the Riverina LLS for putting this on, and thanks to Hannah for all the back and forth with emails and everything like that to put on today, so big thank you. The ROI Ag Tech Calculator is a project funded by the Southern New South Wales Innovation Hub in partnership with MLA. The calculator itself is not actually live yet, so we can't log on and have a proper work through it, but I do have some screenshots that I can show you later that we've put some use cases into. But firstly, I want to show a little video that has some messages from the producers that we've worked with to develop the calculator into what it is today. So I'll play that now and then we'll get back to having a look at the calculator.
We run a steer fattening operation on the property and we also run a shorthorn Angus cross cow herd. We've just made significant investments in infrastructure upgrades and we're now looking to improve our Wi-Fi signal across the farm to really step forward and look through the current lens of opportunities to improve efficiencies and therefore profitability on the property and understand how AgTech can help us achieve that.
We run a mixed beef and sheep operation, but majority beef. AgTech excites me. I've grown around tech. I think it's a really exciting era that we're in farming at the moment, particularly with the challenges that our industry faces every day. I think AgTech can resolve a lot of those challenges, but also can be some of those challenges. We need to know that the value proposition of what it promises to offer is actually going to be there.
Technology has been identified as one of the new frontiers for improving productivity, profitability and sustainability in agriculture in Australia over the next decade. Enhancing our ability to adopt new technologies is critical to achieving those outcomes. And so the things that we do right now that increase the speed with which ag tech can be picked up is going to be very important. The project, Capturing the Value of Ag Tech on Farm, is focused on overcoming one of the obstacles in the adoption of new technologies, which is understanding how long it takes to get a return on that investment. We're taking a piloted program that MLA created for northern beef production, and we're translating that into southern sheep and beef production systems.
So what we're really trying to achieve with this project is to take the AgTech return on investment calculator tool that we've developed to a prototype and a proof of concept and get that online so it's available for all producers to be able to access. The ideal outcome for us would be to have producers using this tool and for it to be really helping them to plan their decision making around the adoption of AgTech.
The process of being involved with the project's been great. It's been really well facilitated. I've enjoyed sitting down and threshing things out with the rest of the group. I think it's important that they get producer concepts to come in to build these calculators so that we can actually be able to work out what the value of the ag tech will be to our businesses. I think at the end of the day, we always wonder how we're going to explain to our bank manager or our senior management the need for a certain item. Now with an ROI calculator, we're able to sit down and go, look at the actual metrics and see what value that it can add to our business, and value in both time saving and also economically.
I'm really impressed with the work of the Southern Innovation Hub, because the approach that works, as they're demonstrating, is when you sit down and you consider practice change and opportunities for producers, you start with the end in mind. So our all-important producer partners are at the table right at the very beginning of any initiative. They're part of the co-design process, and they're absolutely critical in the development and the delivery of the projects live. This sets projects up for a very good chance of adoption. Why? Because they're being proven live, and also for long-lasting impact because the context has been set by the people that matter.
The short-term benefits of this project are that our sheep and cattle producers in southern New South Wales they'll have a really great understanding of the opportunities of the technology to improve the productivity, profitability and sustainability of what they're currently doing. The longer-term benefits are we can take this thinking to other industries. We can have a different conversation around grain production, wine production, cotton production, horticulture. And that's really exciting, I think.
So as you can see on the video, we've worked with producers all the way through to in the user acceptance testing to make sure that, they're happy with how everything looks and it makes sense. We want it to be an easy tool for people to use, not complicated. So when the ROI calculator goes live, and you'll be able to access it through your My MLA tab on the MLA website, and there'll also be a link through the Southern New South Wales Innovation website as well. So when you log in to the calculator, this is what you'll see. So firstly, you put in your login and all that sort of information. The first steps, they've broken it down into 3 main parts at this point in time, and as Cindy said on the video, that this is sort of considered a base model, and as time goes on they're wanting to evolve it for many more use cases, in viticulture, cotton, lots of different applications, but this is considered the base model at this point in time. So we'll go through the first part, which will just there's more basic questions in the beginning, asking what you're wanting to achieve by employing ag tech on your farm, in your enterprise. So some of the examples are reducing input costs, increased profitability, improved data for decision making. I'll also explain quickly, the reason I'm showing screenshots today is because I'm not actually allowed to go through the real-time tool because it's not actually live online yet. So that's why I've sort of got to go through this, and I can't drop down and do anything more interactive, so I apologise for that. So you'll be able to select on the map, on the tool as well, your farm, and you can select multiple properties, so you don't just have to work on one block. You can highlight if you have multiple farms that you're working with. So they'll go through some more descriptive questions asking about the size of your farm, what do you use it for. So they do have livestock. So cropping is in there at the moment, but they're still going to be building on that more as well. So then in future you can select both cropping and livestock. But today I will take you through, in a few more slides, using ag tech to monitor water on your farm. So the return on investment if you were to spend in applying water sensors on your farm. So question 5 asks, how many days would you drive to inspect water points on your farm? And then what sort of vehicle do you use to inspect? I actually had Martin ask me earlier that in terms of ag tech, a really great comment was drones, using drones to inspect farm, and I thought that was a really great idea, which I'll be taking back to them, so thank you. So as you can see, these are already pre-selected for the end result. And then how long it takes you to do this, whether that's 30 minutes or up to 3 to 4 hours. And how much do you value that time spent doing those checks? And cost of fuel. And how many water storage points do you have that you will need to be monitoring using AgTech? And how many water pumps? And how many pipes to measure pressure and flow? And this slide breaks down the percentage of those daily checks that you are doing just isolated to water monitoring. So in some enterprises, that would be more. Some it would only be as low as 5%. And another estimate they've put in here is if you did have a device that would be able to do all this for you without you having to drive around in your buggy or your ute, how long do you think it would save you each day to employ this? So they've also taken into consideration the inputs that would be needed to have this technology installed, because that is a cost that will need to be applied in considering the return on investment. So we can see here, hopefully you guys can see it okay, that they've broken it down to a one-off cost of how much it would be to install these sensors and to measure flow and tank levels, etc., for a one-off. So say you were to, just pay it all off in one hit, or the monthly sort of breakdown of how much the device would cost. And then at the end, when you put all the information relevant to your farm, it'll then come back to you and show you the total savings or the return and how long that period will take to get a return on your spendings on that ag tech. So you can see here we've applied it to installing water sensors to measure flow or tank levels, etc. So you can see it's fairly decent net savings over per annum. And then they've also listed some other, benefits, just general benefits that would be considered if you were to employ that kind of technology. So they've applied it to a 5-year period where you would see the return on investment. So over the 5-year period, you would see $21,381 decrease for water management on your farm over that time. I do also have some slides that show it for livestock monitoring. So this would be potentially using tracking collars or something like that to monitor movement, to check on if your stock are still alive and that sort of thing, and save you time driving around checking mobs. But I can go through that if anyone's interested. Just come see me at the hub desk. But essentially it goes through the same questions of, time you would allocate usually to check stock. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. So they are aiming for this tool to go live at, they're using the event Beef Week to officially launch it. They did a preview similar to this at Evoke Ag in WA 2 weeks ago, but they're now working behind the scenes trying to get everything ready to go. And I'll be up here later for more questions if anyone wants to ask me some. Thanks again.
Do you take a question?
Pardon?
Yeah, take a question. If there's, we've got a few minutes. If anyone's got a quick question they want to fire out before we go to lunch. Otherwise, we can grab them after lunch when we do our Q&A session. Sorry, just hold 2 seconds. Thanks, John.
Does it give you examples of what brands or what type of monitoring options you have?
I don't think they've isolated or broken down into individual products, but I haven't seen a lot of the background inputs that have gone in either, so that might, they might come at the other end and have that in there ready to go, but that's definitely something that I can go back and check and see if that's in there, but I don't think they've broken it down into brands or names of technologies as such. Yeah, it's just general, but I can check that for you.
Yep. Anyone else have anything? Nope. Okay, no worries. We're getting an
Thanks,
early
guys.
lunch by the look of it. So thanks, Jess.
All good.
And we'll be back after lunch with a Q&A.